How's it going, guys and girls? Hope you guys are having a great week. So I'm back today with another What Do We Know So Far video. Now this one is actually on No Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, which is actually coming out next week on March the 23rd. It is a Japanese RPG and will be available on the PC and PlayStation 4. The game is developed by Level 5 and published by Bandai Namco. And for those that may not know, it is the sequel to the highly acclaimed No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, which came out on the PlayStation 3, which I never got to play, but I hear was an absolutely amazing game. It is different in some ways to the original game. The first game was done with a very close collaboration with Studio Ghibli, and this could definitely be seen in the hand-drawn animation sections, the cutscenes, and the overall style of the game. Now, No Kuni 2 is not in complete collaboration with Studio Ghibli, but worry not, some former Ghibli workers, particularly character designer Yoshiyuki Momose and longtime music composer Joe Hisaishi, do reprise their roles and have rejoined Level 5 to help them with No Kuni 2. So it still very much has a Studio Ghibli feel. There will still be a lot of hand-drawn animation and cutscenes and music and character designs that we're used to. And the game, it looks beautiful, it looks visually stunning. Now, for those of you that are concerned whether or not you will need to play the first game, do not worry. You will not need to play the first No Kuni game. And the reason for that is that No Kuni 2 is actually set hundreds of years after the events of the Wrath of the White Witch. It is still in the same area, so it is in No Kuni, but it's in kind of a parallel world, and the location might be familiar for those that played the first game, but a lot of the characters, the story, all that is brand new, and there will be a lot of new things to explore. The general premise of the game, the kingdom, will actually feature the cat and mouse tribes, and these are actually two warring factions in the town of Ding Dong Dell, which is where the game begins. Now, during the start of the game, the mouse tribe actually perform a coup d'etat, taking control of the kingdom. Players themselves will actually control the main character called Evan Pettiwhisker Tildrum, and he is the boy king of the cat tribe who is usurped from his sort of would-be throne. He's very, very young when he takes on the throne. His father was very popular, and a lot of people are a little bit unsure about Evan's ability to rule the kingdom. He's kind of described as a very sort of sweet, gentle, but kind of kind boy. What's interesting is Evan basically sets out on a journey to rebuild his kingdom. Now, originally this does not mean that he's going to sort of retake the kingdom back, but he does set out to become a worthy king and to build his own kingdom for his subjects. Now, Evan is not alone in his quest. He will actually be joined by two other characters which have been introduced to us in two separate trailers. The first is Roland. Now, Roland is more of an adult character. He is actually a visitor from another world, Ichi no Kuni, which is the world that Oliver, the main character in the first game, was actually from. Now, Oliver was able to travel between these worlds, between these parallel worlds. Evan will not be able to do so, and in this case it's actually Roland that's traveled between worlds. Now, Roland is actually a president of a country, and a very popular, very renowned president, actually in his 40s. I think he's 49. Something happens, some kind of war takes place, and it looks like Roland loses his life, and he sort of, his body gets covered in these kind of blue sparkles, and he ends up in No Kuni. Actually, he arrives at the time of the coup d'etat, and when he does arrive in No Kuni, he's actually in his 20s, but he kind of steps into this kind of mentor role for Evan, and he decides to stay in No Kuni and to help Evan grow into the king that he can become, and to sort of mentor and guide him and support him in his quest to rebuild his kingdom. Evan is also joined by a girl similar age to him by the name of Tani, and she is an orphan child and is the daughter of the boss of the air pirates, and is sort of a very free soul, very adventurous, a little reckless. So it'll be interesting to see her dynamic as well, because obviously you're going to have Roland, who's going to be a little bit more sensible, a little bit more level-headed, a little bit more cautious, and then Tani, who's going to be kind of the free spirit. Then obviously Evan in the middle, who's quite young, quite innocent, quite naive, and is obviously going to have to grow as a character. But Tani, I like her character design. It very much reminds me a little bit of Princess Mononoke in her style, and that should be really, really cool. So that's basically the premise of the game. Now, the gameplay, there are going to be some new sort of additions. The map it looks to be quite large, and you can actually freely roam around the map, but when you roam around the map, you kind of do so in sort of like a chibi form, which is cool and all. The actual land itself looks sort of beautiful and really gorgeous. It is of course inhabited by lots of beasties, and these are all going to be different levels. Now you can sort of preempt and attack these, or you can try to avoid them. What's interesting as well is the actual map is not sort of sectioned off by levels. You can come across some very high level monsters, sort of level 40, level 50 monsters quite early on in the game, very similar to The Witcher 3, wherein, you know, anything could happen at any given time. Now, the major differences, there are three major differences in the gameplay. The first is the combat system. The combat system has been completely revamped, completely overhauled, and the developers have actually decided to swap out the turn-based gameplay that was in the first game and change that for sort of real-time battles with a greater emphasis on action and sort of excitement. So that, you know, one of the major complaints with the first game was that the combat system was quite convoluted, that it was difficult to use, and it was a little clunky in places. Well, it looks like they've decided to completely overhaul it. Now you can actually control all three characters, Evan, Tani, and also Roland. Now, whether you control other characters as the game progresses, possibly as you sort of gain companions and make friends and obviously gain followers, you are able to use physical attacks as well as magical attacks. The physical attacks, it looks like on the screen, there are actually three kinds of weapons that you can equip at any given time. These have what looks like charge bars to use special attacks, but you can switch freely between them. They're all connected to particular button prompts for sort of more powerful attacks, light attacks, fast attacks, and you use the R2 if you're on PlayStation 4 to do magical based abilities, magical attacks, that kind of thing. As well in the game, we've also been introduced to Higgledies. Now these will replace familiars that were in the first game, and these were like Pokemon style creatures, and the combat was very, very much like Pokemon, in that you would use these familiars to fight monsters for you and would give them controls and instructions, and that have particular abilities. Well, the familiars are gone, and in their place we have these creatures called Higgledies, which we've seen, you know, they very much look like Studio Ghibli style creatures that we've seen before, particularly the fire-based ones. They remind me a lot of Howl's Moving Castle, and what they basically are is they will roam around the field with you, and you will sort of collect them and gain them as you progress through the game. There are different kinds of Higgledies, and these different Higgledies will have different elemental attacks, different abilities, and that kind of thing. Think kind of Pikmin, so sort of multiple of them are roaming around on the field together in sort of clumps of colours, and they charge up abilities. When you go into the circle where they are, if you press a button, they will do a particular move or a particular attack. Now, this attack could be an elemental-based attack. It could also be an ability that sort of heals your own character, or buffs your own character, or potentially weakens the enemy. So Higgledies will be a good way of using kind of strategy based in the game to help you against some of the more difficult villains. Now, of course, because Evan's main goal is to build a kingdom, one of the other things that will be in there as well is there will be a mini city management kind of sim where you'll be able to build cities and manage them, and you'll be able to sort of build armories and training grounds and hunt down the best people to work in your kingdom and in different parts of your kingdom, and they'll bring skills and abilities that will help you obviously strengthen your kingdom's defenses and your ability to expand. Now, this is all going to be connected and tied to what I assume are going to be side quests or some main quests, where in order to sort of gain the favor of these would-be followers, that you'll have to carry out certain tasks. So it might be, you know, killing or slaying a particular monster, finding a particular hidden item, or just doing some kind of quest for somebody, some favor that they want in order to convince them to join you. So Ni no Kuni 2 looks absolutely amazing. It's a game I'm very much interested in playing and picking up, and I'm so gutted I didn't get to play the first Ni no Kuni game on the PlayStation 3 because it was just such an interesting game, and I'm a huge fan of Studio Ghibli. I love their animation style. I love the stories that they tell, and they're known for having really excellent storytelling. And you know, I heard Ni no Kuni had an excellent story and lots of twists and turns and was kind of an emotional roller coaster. So I'm expecting Ni no Kuni 2 to be just as good. I hope Evan will be a likable character. I hope we'll feel connected to him and his story and his journey and obviously what he goes through. But Ni no Kuni 2 is definitely on the horizon, and it's definitely a game I'm pretty much 90% sure I'm going to be picking up this game, playing it, and hopefully we'll be able to get a review out to you guys to let you know what I think about it. But anyway, so that is everything that we know so far on Ni no Kuni 2. Let me know what you guys think of this game in the comment section below. Have you played the first game? What did you think of it? And will you be picking up the second game? Please let me know in the comment section below. Hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did find it useful, please of course hit the like button as always to show your support. Anyway, take care guys and girls, and as always, happy gaming. Bye guys.